Yeah. Well, let's do this.
Stonecutters Podcast. Aaron Hankins
Will Catlett
in the building.
in the building.
The views expressed on this podcast do not reflect those of our employers, past, present, or future. Will, what's been good with you, man? It's been a while since we spoke.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I like these purple glasses. You know, I need to give me some of.
Let's go.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, it's been a minute, man. I've been working. I just finished up with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes, on True Story. So I was doing that in LA. So I was kind of like, diving into that and, meeting Kevin, meeting Wesley, getting these gems from these greats has been incredible. So I'm sure we'll dive a little bit into that in the podcast. And now I'm back in Atlanta, on a 5-day quarantine in Atlanta. So, I'm here.
Nice. Will, it's been so long since we spoke. I had to write it down. I had to write down all these things that I wanted to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing, I was on a podcast. So
Okay.
while we weren't while we weren't recording a podcast, I was on a good buddy of mine. His name is Luis. It's called the Enemy Within You podcast. And I
Mm-hmm.
talked a lot about my journey just from a child all the way to working at Nike. And you came up a few times. Stonecutters Podcast came up a few times, obviously, because, we were chipping away. That's one thing. The second thing that I did that I wanted to bring up, I just recently got to speak to a group of high school students about
Nice.
my journey. And that was just another sort of really enriching, rewarding experience. And then the last thing that I want to say, since we haven't spoken, I completed phase 1 of the Nike Craft Wear Tester program.
Okay.
And that was 8 weeks and lots of different art projects. We'll get more into that in the podcast, but it was like, those were like, since the last time we spoke, those are the 3 things that I
Well,
was able to.
break that Nike Wear Tester down for our listeners who may not know what you were doing.
I guess this was back in December. Tom Sachs, the world famous artist, put out a challenge on Instagram looking for people to wear test one of his Nike shoes, the Mars Yard 2.5. And I submitted a video and I was selected to be a part of the wear tester program. And they picked, it was about 150 other people from all over the world. Will, I got to connect with people in Asia, people in Europe, people in South America, all over a shoe, and really created a community. And Tom Sachs, he met with us once a week for 8 weeks straight, and it was almost like a professor kind of course. And we wore the shoes and we did a lot of activities in the shoes, but over the course of it, it really turned into like learning about art from an artist. And yeah, it was, and it was really just eye-opening for me because I work at Nike, but I'm also into sneakers and I appreciate Tom Sachs. So, I'm an artist. I mean, I'm just going to say that engineer, artist, whatever you want to call it. And getting to learn from somebody like Tom Sachs was just extremely rewarding. And I got to meet a bunch of amazing people all over the world. I got to stretch my own creativity in some of the projects, some things that I had never tried before, different ways of filming, just learning about photography, learning about contemporary artists, learning about conceptual art and the idea of conceptual art. And we wore the shoes every day for 8 weeks. And then just 2 or 3 days ago, I just sent the shoes back. So I didn't even get to keep the shoes. And suffering is the root of attachment is the root of all suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And having the shoes and like thinking everything was great and being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get to keep these, and then having to send them back, I was a little sad. But I also knew that like if I was gonna have the shoes and just wear them until they wore down into nothing, eventually I was going to lose them anyway. So I have other shoes, and there'll be another pair of shoes. And yeah, it was just it was like just a complete experience, from birth to celebration to, to death. Like, and just full circle, like, I want this, I'm wearing this, I have this, I don't have this anymore. So just, yeah, completely rewarding. I'd recommend people go and they're doing another phase of this, so they're giving people another opportunity to get out there and do this wear tester program, and I would just highly recommend that people do that. So,
Well, it's two things that you brought up, I think, that we should elaborate on or dive into. Is number one, you hesitated when you said, I am an artist. So I want to dive into that. And then number two, attachment. Why is it so hard for people to let things go? Just like you having to detach to give the shoes back to Tom Sachs that you had for 8 weeks. Well, let's start with the hesitation of I am an artist, because for our listeners, this is the Stonecutters Podcast. We're constantly chipping away at the stone. So what was the hesitation? It was so small. If you weren't really listening, you may not have caught it. So I want to dive into that, because people have these feelings. I've had these feelings, or accepting who we are. So go into that, good brother.
Part of it is just me not wanting to I feel cocky and I feel arrogant in that where we are in the world, we're still in a pandemic. I got this life-changing opportunity to learn from an artist, and it invigorated and it filled my cup up to like, I'm an artist. And every day I just kept telling myself, I'm an artist. But then, Will, when I'm around you and me and you talk, and I guess this is something that friends would have to talk about, is that, like, me and you can equally be artists and not be in competition with each other. You are an artist in a very specific area or a realm. I'm not even going to call it specific area. I'm just going to say film, television, entertainment. And what I'm talking about is conceptual art, bricolage, sculpture, modern art, anything like that. And there's nothing saying that we can't both be artists and say it with confidence. The hesitation for me is just like, yeah, I'm talking to a real artist. And I didn't feel it in that moment that I was like, I feel confident enough to say it at the level that I'm the same kind of an artist as Will is. But talking it out now, it makes sense that I should just be able to say, yeah, I'm an artist.
Yeah, because why is art? If art is art, right?
Yeah.
Why do we compare art with other art? You know what I'm saying? If you are an artist, that's what you identify yourself as. The pandemic doesn't get in the way of that. Tom Sachs doesn't get in the way of that. Will doesn't get in the way of that. It's what you identify. Some people may say, hey, I made this Starbucks will probably serve cup, right? This person who created this design may label themselves as, I'm an artist. I created this design. They may say, well, I'm a graphic designer, blah, blah, blah. But the hesitation, when we talk about writing things down, we talk about accepting who we are. And how does Aaron get to the place? Because Will knows Aaron's an artist. Tom knows Aaron's an artist. The world already knows, even if Aaron's art hasn't been revealed yet. But why is Aaron hesitating on calling himself an artist?
Because I haven't sold anything.
So now you have to sell something in order to be validated to be an artist.
Yeah. Just like you have to be on the big network to justify your art.
No, I can never. If I never did another television show or movie, doesn't define if I'm an artist or not. It's a state of mind. It's a state of existence. There's some great artists that we would never, ever hear of. that's performing in their basement, that's doing poetry in the back alleys and no one's hearing it. They're still an artist. It's like the thing where if a tree falls in the woods, it doesn't make a sound. You know what I'm saying? It's because you wasn't here. You wasn't there to capture the sound of the tree falling. Doesn't mean the tree didn't make a sound when it fell. So an artist is an artist. That's like when I had to write down, I'm a movie star. And I kept writing it down in my journal, writing it, because in order for me to reflect that and to attract that, I have to believe that. I have to become that. I have to know that I am that. So for our listeners that's maybe on the fence of struggling between, well, who am I? The biggest question we all ask ourselves, well, who am I? What am I supposed to do? What is my purpose? You first have to identify and believe what it is that you are. When I look at Aaron, I don't just see Nike. Look at the background. If everyone's looking on this somewhere in the world, YouTube, wherever this video may go, this is an artist. The background, the whole thing, the tools, everything that you got, the labels, the organization, that's an artist. Look at this background. You're just looking at a concrete ceiling. That's an artist. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So it's accepting it in order to reflect it, in order to manifest it. We have to accept who we are.
Okay.
And I need you, my brother, to accept that you are one of the best artists in the world. Whether you ever sell anything, you will. You know?
Understand. I understand. What was the second question?
The second one was attachment, of letting things go. So you wore the shoes for 8 weeks and you said
comfortable, did a bunch of stuff in them, cleaned them up. They cleaned up really nice and easy. They were beat up. They still looked good after they were beat up. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Had to let them go.
I can see you going to the post office and ship them boys off, or have you putting the label and shipping them off, and you're just having this moment with these shoes. But so many of us have that, you know, that time where it's like a phone number, right? You know what I mean? You have this phone number for 13 years and you want to get a new phone, but you want to get a cheaper price, but they say you got to change the number. You're like, I don't want to change my number. I had this number for 13 years. I don't want to change the number. Why is that? When change is constant, why do we go through that? I've been through it. Why do we go through it? What do you think?
It has the humans we want to control. Mm-hmm. We want to yield control over something. And we know in our subconscious that change is inevitable, change is constant, change will happen. These things will fall off the wall at some point, like this building will collapse, like all these things are constant. Shoes will disintegrate over time. But if we can hold on to the idea that isn't going to happen, that everything is going to stay the way that it is today, there's security in that control. Mm-hmm. At least for me, there is. Like, mm-hmm. Before, you get accepted and you're waiting for the shoes to come. So you're thinking into the future about the day that the shoes are here. When the shoes are here, you're actually living in the present and you're wearing them and you're in the being. When the shoes leave, now you're thinking about the past and you're depressed about the past because you're not letting it go. Like, the really interesting thing about the whole experience is that we would talk to Tom and his team every week, and he would just stress the importance to us of just document it, document the experience, document what you do, you make art and everything, and just document it, because now that the shoes are gone, we can look back on that not from a depressed that we don't have it anymore, but more from just an appreciation, because we were able to experience it and enjoy it in the time that we had it.
So it sounds like we need to focus our minds and train our minds on the art of letting go. Because how can one ever really be present if you're too far in the future or you stuck in the past? You're never present. So just like the clock says 12:23 out here, I'm present in 12:23, but when it turns to 12:24, I have to let go of 12:23 because that is in the past. But I can't look, so I'm looking forward to 12:25. I may dream about 12:25. I may think about what's going to happen at 12:25, but 12:25 hasn't come yet. So is the goal or the cure from being attached to things? The art of letting go allows us to be present, allows us to catch the wind of the day, allows Aaron to create how he wants to create in the moment of being present, which really helps us with anxiety for the future or the depression of the past when we present our mind.
The sadness that I have for and the attachment to the shoes is because I'm holding on to the feelings of before I had the shoes, and the excitement and the joy and the unknown of not having it, and then the comfort of having it. And once it's gone, I need to just let it go. And you just need to remind yourself of how fun it was and how cool it was, but at the same time know that you can't do anything to change it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can live through it and enjoy it and experience it, and then let that be the end of it.
I think when we let things go, we allow ourselves to create a new moment. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
know?
There's the this suffering that I was feeling in this attachment, right? Like when I was able to let it go, it
Mm-hmm.
opened up so much more space for me just to think about other things. I didn't have to take pictures of the shoes every day. I didn't have to wear them a certain number of places and do a certain number of things in them. So there's definitely freedom when you eventually let go of those things that you're attached to.
Yeah, because I know like in my profession, you know, you can do a take. And for those who may not know what a take is, the cameras are rolling, the director calls action. And that may be take one. And it may not have went the way you decided to go and take one. So they call cut and they say, okay, go on again. You may get some notes from the director. You may not get them notes. They may be in the wide shot. You know, usually the wide shot is great for getting your lines and all the other stuff if you haven't really, you know, got a grasp on the character as of yet. But if I'm so attached to what I did or what I didn't do in take one, I can't experience what is new in take two. And just like when we have this conversation on this podcast, you know, we don't write anything down. We get on, you say, hey, Stonecutters Podcast, we go. We don't know what the topic is. We don't know what we're going to talk about. Sometimes in the conversation, you may think this, and I think this as well. Is it going well? Are we communicating? Are we gelling? It's been a minute. Is there rust? All these things are going on in your mind. Now, the moment that you focus on that, then it doesn't become what it's supposed to become. So even in the podcast as we were starting, I had to shut that part off to be present to say, okay, whatever's going to happen next, I'm excited to see what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times we
Absolutely.
get in our head in our way because we think it's supposed to go a certain way, which we have an attachment in our mind first that we thinking it's supposed to go like this. We're going to talk about this instead of
Control.
instead of letting us flow with that river of, man, your glasses are dope. Oh, I see your background. Oh, okay, what's going on? And then boom, we start talking about attachment and identity of am I an artist? And how to detach of why I don't feel that I am an artist. This podcast is deep, man. You know, Stonecutters Podcast. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Music, all platforms. You know, we there.
YouTube. If you have questions, comments, feedback, we've been getting lots of emails, lots of people sending us feedback saying that they enjoy the show, saying that they appreciate us. You can shoot us an email at stonecutterspodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, stonecutterspodcast.com. We have a form on there. You can also send us questions or comments for the show. So Will, we kind of went over it like really briefly. I didn't stop. I didn't celebrate. You said that you just finished shooting a series with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes. Congratulations.
Oh man, thank you, brother. Thank you. You know, see, here's the thing too. You know, meeting Kevin, I'll say this. You know, and this is no gas. It's amazing to watch. He's amazing to watch in every aspect of it. You know, when they say, you know, he doesn't write things down when it comes to his comedy, it's true. When he comes to set, Kevin doesn't know them lines. He looks at it one time and he knows all those lines. It's freakish to watch, you know, in person. You know what I mean? And he'll be like, Will, Will, I think I got it. I know you got it, boss. You got it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's just to see him in his element. And I've been writing down in my journal where we say thoughts become things, right?
Yeah.
I am a movie star. What does God do? He sits me under a movie star. There's only really two, The Rock and Kevin. When we come to numbers of people who are massive and big and they transcended their craft, you know what I'm saying? They're in a whole nother stratosphere. So I got a chance to sit, to learn, and to watch, you know, Kevin and how he moves in every aspect of how he moves. Such a great guy too, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you can't pay for that. You can't. Like, you can't. And then to be in the thing with Wesley, you know what I'm saying? You can't pay for this.
But Will, how poignant is it that I get to spend 8 weeks learning from this artist that I look up to, somebody that I want to learn something from. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you're learning from Kevin and Wesley at the same time. Will, like, I mean, come on now, like, it's happening.
It's definitely happening. You know what I mean? But to see it, you know, it's like, how can I put it? Everybody may think they know what it's like when a dream about what it may be like, what made it feel like to get on the floor with Kobe, LeBron, Jordan. You know what I'm saying? But then you actually get on the floor with Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, Kevin, Wes. And it's like, oh, now I understand why you are where you are. I get it. I understand it. And Kamar Usman talks about this in the UFC, MMA. It's a different level. He always talks, it's a different level. When you get in there with me, the Nigerian Nightmare, it's a different level. And my favorite is George Masvidal. You know, they're getting ready to fight soon. I love George. But I understand what Kamar Usman is saying. These are the elites. You know what I'm saying? They playing at a whole nother level. You know what I mean? So then you understand, well, how does this person make it? Well, this is what they doing with you when you don't see it. In the secret place, they're working. They're constantly perfecting themselves. And watching Kevin, when I was talking about, you know, how he reads the script one time and then he gets it, he got the gist of it, he got it, I mean, he hits it, work, boom, boom, boom. But what I learned from him in that, he has a sense of freedom. Where he's not judging himself. Did I get the line? He's not judging, he's free. He's present in the moment. He's not attached to how he think it's going to go. He gets it in his body and he's like, boom, let's go. Same thing with Wes. Wes be doing his thing. Boom, 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 boom. Moving the cup here, doing it. Bam, bam, bam. The next thing you know, action. A whole nother person comes alive. It's like, yo, it's, you know, I'm like, I see myself. I said, ooh, this is myself. You know, these cats is killer. And it makes you like if you playing against LeBron and you Kevin, who came back tonight, you know what I'm saying, did his thing, you step up to the level of competition. And
Okay.
that's what I like. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in here with some vets. You know what I mean? I can learn, but also I'm gonna see what I can do. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. So True Story is gonna be a hit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to seeing it and everything that comes from it. So in all of that, as you were congratulating me, I wanted to take the time to drop some gems that I've learned along the way so that our
Okay.
listeners can pick up some of these keys as they go forward. You know what I'm saying? And so I haven't even shared this with my class yet, you know what I mean? But
Uh-oh.
this is an exclusive right here, you know what I'm saying, on the Stonecutters Podcast, as we're talking about identity and attachments. You know what I mean? It's so good to be able to have that self-evaluation. That's why I love when you talk about keeping the journal. I was going through my journal today and I was just looking at some stuff that I wrote down that I want to do, that I'm going to do. And, just looking at, you can check the journey, you can check your traveling. I was thinking today when we were talking about watches, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, like I remember when you first got your Rolex, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, like it's possible, you know what I'm saying? So you don't even think about that. When you grow up, you hear about it, you see rappers or you see businessmen or blah, 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 blah. But then we was able to talk about that, you know what I'm saying, as I'm getting ready to lace this wrist in a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Congratulations.
You gotta talk to the wife though, see if she gonna let me lace this wrist. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's all good.
Absolutely. I hope that happens for you.
No, it's happening. It's
Oh, it's
happening.
happening.
It's done. It's done. It's happening. It's happening. Probably before the month's out. It's definitely happening.
Okay. It's on that note, it's good to celebrate milestones in your
Mm-hmm.
life. And this is
Yeah.
another milestone. This is a point in your career when you've put in the work and now you're starting to see the results of it. So
Yeah, for sure. And then, it's a village. And I think as artists, as entrepreneurs, as businessmen, as creatives, you need people to help you along the journey. And, you have to look for your destiny partners as you continue to climb the ladder. And you have to enjoy it. You know what I mean? And like this show I'm on, Black Lightning, which I'm back in Atlanta for, is getting ready to come to an end in its fourth season. So now, if you're stuck in, oh man, great show is ending, then you cannot accept what is to come and what is new. You know what I mean? So life teaches you about letting go. You know what I mean? Even when it comes to death, you have to let go and continue to move on and live. And death doesn't mean that you lost a grandparent, a mother, a father. A death can be a relationship. A death
absolutely.
could be business. A death could be an idea. A death can be a miscarriage. A death can be a lot of different things. But we have to learn that it's a part of it. We talk about, so many things on a podcast. But when I'm talking about this death, it makes me think of a seed. A seed must go into the ground and die to become reborn into something new. You know what I'm saying? And so the seed itself has to let go of the state that it's in order to become something else. So if that's the life of nature and the course of nature, why is it so hard for humans to understand it and get it? Every day, there's a part of us dying and there's a part of us being reborn. That is the cycle of life. And once we understand that, we can be more fearless in going towards our dreams and our ideas, the things that we want to accomplish in life, and not getting so caught up in accomplishing the goal and forgetting the journey and the process that you never enjoy. You never go see your brother Aaron. You never go, hug Marin because you're worrying about making it. make it. I can't go and see my family until I make it. Well, what is making it?
Yeah.
You know, and I think we have to slow it down. And when I spoke about Kevin and Wesley and the greats like MJ or Deion Sanders, when they enter their prime, they're able to slow things down. The gift and the talent and the experience have now met. And they're able to see what the young players don't see. They're able to see the angles on the court what the young players don't see because things have slowed down. That's the goal, is to get the game to slow down. Because once the game slows down, then you can manipulate the game. You can control the game. You can do this at will, as we see in Devin Booker coming into his thing. You know what I mean? Over at the Suns.
Absolutely.
You know, being under the tutelage of Chris Paul, things are starting to slow down for him. It's like, oh, I can just hit this 15-footer when the three ain't dropping. I can just go in, pop, pop, you know, get a little layup here and there. You know, it's slowing down. You know what I'm saying? So that's life. That's how we want to do it.
You were talking there, and it made me think of the greats and how attachment, when they miss a shot, they don't stay attached to that shot. When it's time to move on to the next shot, they miss that one. They've taken into account how they need to improve, how they need to change it, but they aren't stuck that they missed the last three or the last four. When the ball comes to them again, they're ready to shoot again. They're free. They have that freedom because they've lost the attachment there.
Yeah. One of my boys, one of my best friends, Mr. Todd Anthony, great, incredible artist and actor. I think he was telling me when I was going through in a relationship, and I was giving him the residual effects of that relationship. And he used the basketball analogy. He said, end of the day, you got to get back on defense. You know what I'm saying? And it was such a powerful moment at that time because I was stuck in what happened, you know, like you shooting a shot, you know, for the game winner in overtime, and boom, you miss. But you got to get back on D. At the end of the day, you got to get back on D. And the exciting thing about getting back on D, you give your chance so many opportunities to score again. You know what I'm saying? You can get a steal, you can take a charge, you can get a turnover on the team, they can get a 24-second violation. You know,
get a rebound.
You can get a rebound. You know what I'm saying? You know, get a rebound. That's funny. You get whatever it is to get you to the next thing. Boom. You know what I mean? So I love that. I love that about sports.
Will, you were on set, and now you're in quarantine. You're going to be on set again.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been doing in your spare time besides going to the gym? Besides looking at your journal, are you doing anything creatively? Reading a book? Any writing? What you been up to, man? You see what I've been up to behind you.
You know, reflecting. You know what I mean, and sleeping, because you give so much on a show for 3 months. The residual effect of not sleeping, you can feel it when you have time to unwind. See why I'm
slow down, man. Being on set, what kind of hours are those? Like for those of us who don't understand, what's the typical day like on set?
I mean, it can anyway. You can be there 2 hours or 16 hours. You know, it just depends, and that could be all week.
Damn.
You know, but you get used to it. But when you're done with the show, it's not just so many hours that you put in. It's the mental energy that you have given, the physical energy that you have given out. Yeah, if you came to set every day with the intention to be great, then when it's time and they call wrap, you know, and they give you your clap out, that's a wrap on Will Catlett. You know what I mean? That means that that's your last day of that season, that episode for that season. Boom, you're done. You know, we'll see you if we do another one, blah, 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 blah. You should have emptied yourself. So even coming here and being in this 5-day quarantine in this hotel, I have time to reflect and to sleep, to rest. You know what I mean? Because it's just going to get busier and busier. You know, so now I'm planning out my schedule. I'm planning out, okay, when I come out of this 5 days and when I'm done with this show, you know, what's next for Will? What do you want to do next? how do you want to position yourself next? You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm taking this time to refuel so that when I get another character to play or another conversation to be had, I can be fully present and have something to give to that conversation. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we do. That's what artists do. Your art changes people. It changes the way people perceive the world and think about things, or it makes things better, like the tools in the back. That tool, some artists made that tool so that you can cut better, or hammer, or whatever it is that you need to do. But an artist must never forget that they must be refilled in order to give back to the art. Because you can never cheat the art. Cheat yourself, but you can't cheat the art. The art knows. The art is pure. You know what I mean? So I like to take that time to just reflect, and not be in a rush with anything. I got scripts I got to read. I understand that, but it's nothing like sitting down and watching a basketball game. I haven't done that in quite some time. So that's been nice, to watch, today, to see the guys and their artistry, the way they dribble the ball, the way they like, ooh, talk to you and see, because at the end of the day, I'm like, man, dang, it's almost midnight out here. As you said, did this podcast at 6 o'clock my time, But then I thought about it. I said, there's a wall. When you haven't done something in a while, it's easy to say, let's reschedule. But we wouldn't have had this beautiful conversation. So when you hit me, just getting out the shower, that bed looking real nice, I got to do this podcast with my boy. We got to talk. Connect. Somebody need to hear this. I need to hear this.
You needed to tell me that I need to be more confident in saying that I'm an artist.
Yes. And everybody else that listens to this, and to myself. Because what you say, Aaron, I'm an artist, will be tested. It will be tested. Something will come against that to know if you truly are an artist. Just like when I said I'm an actor, something came against it, say, are you really? Then when you rise up to that test and say, yeah, best damn actor in the world. What are you talking about? You didn't know? Oh, you must be late. Must be late to the party. You're late on the bus. Okay. And that comes with what I'm doing in secret. So when I'm tested, every word that you get that you really want to do in life, you will be tested on it. Just like you was tested to come to Nike. I want to go work for Nike. Well, other jobs came to test that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Different things. Do I want to move my wife across to Portland? You know what I mean? What about my mom? And she's here. And, well, can I make it? What if they don't select? It's being tested. But you were tested and you showed yourself approved. So, now you're there and you're changing Nike. You're changing yourself. You're there thinking about what's next, what you're going to do next, from now. So it's a beautiful thing. But to our listeners, you have to identify what it is that you desire to become. You have to let go of hanging on to stuff and attachments. And it will be tested. That's the three things that will happen. And so there's no reason to be upset when the test comes. It's great that the test comes. Because now like, all right, that's why boxers sparring, because they're going to fight, let's say Ryan Garcia, you're going to get tested. You know what I'm saying? This is going to happen. But, can you withstand the test? Can you go through the test? That's the thing why I love our podcast so much. And the title of it, Stonecutters, because the stone is constantly being tried. And the stone is not going to break. And the inside of that stone is a pure gold, pure diamond, or whatever it may be. It's not going to let you just crack into it easy, because it's trying to test if you're worthy of what I have inside. Are you worthy of this gold? Are you worthy of this diamond? Are you worthy of this ruby? Yeah, you're hitting it. I don't know if you're worthy. Your pick thing, it cracked. Are you gonna go get another one? Are you gonna give up? You know, is your thoughts going to get in the way? Maybe it's not going well for me. I don't know. Nobody's looking at me. Nobody's praising me. Nobody's giving me any thumbs up on set. Everyone's saying, Kevin, good job. Wesley, good job. Tawny, good job. Paul, good job. No one's giving the bodyguard the thumbs up. What are you going to do? Are you going to feel like you're not good enough? Or are you going to sit there and say, hey, a thumb up my damn self? You know what I'm saying? You know, this is the things that happen in life that causes us as artists, as creatives, as entrepreneurs, as a salesman or a mailman or whatever your profession may be or whatever you desire to be. This what gets in the way of us moving forward. We're so attached to what someone is saying about us. We're not attached to what we say about ourselves. Stonecutters Podcast.
We out.
We out.